Sports Show. He does a great show. He does a great program, I should say, show. But he really does a great job telling us all the highlights of the county, where we've been, where we're going, and so I look forward to what he's going to say today. But first, as protocol has it, you have to acknowledge certain people in the audience. And I'm going to now acknowledge a few people, and Matt has agreed to acknowledge all of the county officials that are here that he wants to acknowledge or is going to acknowledge. But we always, based on protocol, we always go by order of importance. So the first person I want to acknowledge as our guest here today is Kaylee Osifort. She brought as her guest today her mom Melissa and her mom Stephanie. So thank you for coming, Kaylee. Joe Isabel, Chair of the Montgomery County Legislature. Joe, where are you?
Joe is not here.
I saw him earlier, didn't I?
No.
Well, I thought I did. Okay, well, Dennis Wilson, my chair of the Chamber of Commerce. Dennis? And all the students from Fonda Fultonville School, so thank you for coming today. And I also got to recognize the Chamber staff that without their help I would not be able to put this on. Ian Bowles, our Director of Tourism Development, Nicole Walrith, our Director of Workforce Development, and our new Membership Director of Member Services and Membership, Janet Davis. Janet, thank you so much. And before we start, I got to acknowledge our sponsors for this event, and we have two major sponsors for this event today. And again, CT Mail Associates is a sponsor for today's event. You've been a dedicated sponsor, I think, for a decade or more for this event. As many of you probably know, CT Mail has a long history of working here in Fulton County. Their office in Johnstown is located at 10 North Perry Street. It's right around the corner from City Hall. CT Mail has had an office in Fulton County since 1988. The firm enjoys a long-standing relationship with the Fulton Montgomery Chamber of Commerce. A full-service professional engineering consulting firm, headquartered in Latham, New York, CT Mail provides a variety of services, including civil engineering, environmental services survey, land services, architectural and building code services, energy building system services, I'm stumbling a little bit, I apologize, and electrical engineering, as well as grant writing and grant administrative service assistance for both public and private sector clients. Many of you know Chad Courts, who also lives in Johnstown. Chad manages the CT office in Johnstown. Chad, you raise your hand. And he's here today with Chris Koenig. Chris, are you here with him? So thank you again for your sponsorship. CT Mail would be pleased to discuss what their professional assistance they might have to offer for any member of the Chamber today or anyone here at this function today or any time in the future. Anyone interested in opening a dialogue with CT Mail should contact Chad or Chris directly, or you can contact the Chamber and we'll give you their information. So thank you so much for your continued sponsorship. A new sponsor for an event this year is an organization which is very heartfelt to me. I had two members of my family, close members of my family, pass abruptly due to cancer. And the reason I feel that happened, that the family feels that happened, is because they did not get a pre-diagnosis. In other words, they did not get go to the doctor and get checkups for cancer. And this organization can help any business or organization in the region take care of that problem by providing you with a cancer screening policy for your organization or business. It's a one-day time off with pay opportunity. And the name of that organization is Cancer, well, right up here. I'm sorry. Let me just read off the script. As president of the Fulton Montgomery Chamber of Commerce, I made a choice to do that, for my employees to get that cancer screening policy, a paid-off time policy for cancer screening for my employees. A cancer screening time-off policy is a benefit that employees use to take time off of work to get a cancer screening. This policy removes any barriers that they are preventing their employees from taking actions against cancer. A cancer screening paid time off policy is important because screenings reduce healthcare costs related to cancer and improves workforce health. Finding cancer early saves lives, as I have learned dearly. Through regular screening processes, cancer can be caught early and treated and is more likely to be successful in their treatments. Research suggests that employers can provide this benefit with no negative effect on profitability. Employers who offer this benefit can have healthier and more productive employees and will spend less on direct medical costs and replacement costs for their employees due to absenteeism. With 110,000 New Yorkers diagnosed with cancer every year, I want to do what I can to take action against it. I support cancer prevention for my employees, and I encourage you to contact the team at Cancer Prevention in Action for Fulton, Montgomery, and Schenectady County. You should all do that. Ginger Champagne and her team would be more than happy to help any of your organizations implement a paid time off policy for cancer screenings. Please visit their website, which you'll see on the sign right up front. Ginger isn't here today, but like I said, they have been very, very helpful in helping us, as well as Full On Action Agency, Elfin House, and several others in this county to get the start and the right start to get yourself on the right road to help prevent cancer in our community. And diagnose it early and give your employees the opportunity to do that. So thank you so much to both of you. Now we'll move on with our event, and I will introduce our speaker. As all of you know him already, I don't probably have to do much of an introduction. Matt Ossenfort, Montgomery County's first ever county executive, was elected in 2017 and was re-elected in 2017. County Executive Ossenfort has served as a member of the Mohawk Valley Regional Economic Development Council and a member of the MV 500 team that submitted a plan as part of the Upstate Revitalization Initiative, seeking to catalyze economic growth in the Mohawk Valley region. In 2015, County Executive Ossenfort was appointed by Governor Andrew Cuomo to the State Workforce Investment Board. County Executive Ossenfort is a member of the County Executives of America and the National Association of Counties, and has been active with the New York State Association of Counties. Locally, he served on numerous boards working to benefit the community and its residents. He is a founding member and past president of Montgomery County Chapter of Habitat for Humanity. Mr. Ossenfort has also served as chairman of the Amsterdam Golf Commission. He currently sits on the Fulton County YMCA board and is a Rotarian. Between 2017 and 2018, under his leadership, the county has been awarded $22 million in economic development grants. This includes a $10 million for the $10 million for the Downtown Revitalization Initiative in Amsterdam, and $6.5 million for the Exit 29 project. In 2020, along with Business Development Center, Mr. Ossenfort established the county's Business Advisory Committee, which was created in an effort to foster increased engagement between local stakeholders and county government to advance pro-jobs and pro-economic growth initiatives within the region. Matt?
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? First, I want to do some thank yous, and hopefully I don't forget anybody here, but I'd like to thank, actually it was a surprise today, Kaylee and Melissa left the house. She usually doesn't pull the wool over my eyes that often, but she left the house telling me she was going to work and Kaylee was going to school, but lo and behold, here they are, and my lovely mother is here today. It's always really nice having their support. Appreciate you being here. And also, I want to just do a quick thank you to my immediate work family. These are the folks that put up with me every single day, all day. Nancy, Morgan, and Megan. I know they went through a lot this week. I was actually yesterday this close from canceling the event, not because of the coronavirus, but because I got diagnosed with strep on Monday. Now, don't worry, I'm not contagious. I've been on antibiotics for 3 days now, but you know, I didn't know if I was going to make it today, but actually I feel great. I'm excited about giving this speech, even though we're going to be talking about some very serious topics. And quite frankly, the speech today is very different than what I thought it would be 2 months ago. John Stead got off easy last month in Fulton County because we're dealing with a completely different world right now than what we were a month ago. And I think, you know, laying out what some of the impacts are going to be for us is a big part of what this speech is going to be about. I think, and I hope I didn't miss anybody, but I think we have a few legislators here today. We have Legislator Mike Pepp, Legislator John Thayer, and Legislator Pertel. I don't think I missed anybody. I know Joe wanted to get here, but he couldn't. Appreciate having you guys here. Also, you'll see, I think this is like the county department head table over here. I wanted to thank everybody for coming. We have some countywide elected officials here. Jeff Smith, obviously our our sheriff that everybody loves, our county clerk, Brittany Colby, who's been doing some great things. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in the speech. And our county treasurer, Sean Bowerman, who has been the steady hand with our county finances for many, many years, and happy to have them here. But I'd also like to thank, we have a group of students from Fonda Fultonville here today, and we had some discussions about, they're going to be touring some of the county offices after the meeting, and just give them an idea of what we do at the county, what kind of jobs are out there, what kind of services we provide. It's going to be a really a good experience for them, and I hope to keep them interested throughout. But like I said, we woke up today, literally today, in a very different world. The 2020 is going to be a lot different than we all expected. You see no March Madness. You're not going to see anybody at the games. It's going to really hurt Albany. They just got, it's going to be another 6 to 10 years before they can bring them back to Albany. You see the NBA has canceled the rest of the season, which as a Knicks fan, I am not complaining at all. I'm actually kind of relieved. And you're seeing things like travel bans. You're seeing things like quarantines. You're seeing, it's always interesting how the public reaction is when, like Tom Hanks, you find has the coronavirus. All of a sudden it becomes a little bit more real for people. But I think we need to remind ourselves in a year like this where we're dealing with some very heavy issues that we shouldn't come to expect that life is always going to be easy, and one of my favorite cheesy lines that everybody is probably sick of hearing that knows me well is, life isn't always all sunshine and rainbows. It really isn't. And this 2020 is going to be one of those years for a lot of people. And where your mettle is tested, where you find out who you really are in these tough times. And I think what you're going to see today is, yeah, we're going to deal with the crap that we're going to have to deal with this year, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue to work towards the positive things and the positive outcomes that we have come to expect in Montgomery County. So with that said, I'd like to kind of lift it up a little bit, Morgan. Here's my one funny slide of the day. So you might be asking yourself why there's a picture of this billboard at exit 29 and why am I wearing the glasses of a 100-year-old lady? Well, you'll see on the right-hand side, this is one of my favorite moments of every day when Kaylee and I brush our teeth before school. This particular day was their 100th day of school. You remember that? And actually, Melissa had a walker, and she got her in gray hair with the bun and everything, and got her all ready for school. And I put her glasses on and snapped a photo. But the reason I put the beach picture up there is I always tell the story that, to try to get the impression to people in Canajoharie that we care about the long-term success of the village and the beach nut site is, the way I say it is, whatever we do here, I want my daughter to be proud when she's older and she drives by it on the thruway. So they understand that, this isn't just another project for us. We're not going to try to just get something done quick and, move on with it. But she now, when we drive back and forth to Syracuse, when we pass that billboard, she'll say to us in the front seat, "Mom, Dad, look, there's Daddy's work over there." And, for a 4-year-old, I think that's pretty intuitive. But moving on. So, obviously, the coronavirus is something that there's a wide variety of reactions to it. Some underreactions, some overreactions. But I'm going to talk today about what the impact's going to be. But before I do that, and something we haven't done in the past, I'd like to bring up Sarah Branco, our public health director, who also is our mental health director. And she's going to talk a little bit about where we're at right now with a local perspective. And then as we go forward, we'll talk about some of the broader implications. But I'd like to just ask that, we give Sarah a very warm welcome because her and her team have been working their butts off. You know, when people have questions, you go to the county public health department and you can get your answers. And she's been working on, you know, coordinating a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of different pieces of information and a lot of different requests. I mean, another story, like I told you, I was sick. Kaylee went to school this week and told another kid that I had the coronavirus. And then that kid told their parent, who then inquired with the school why the county executive had coronavirus. So, as you can imagine, these are the types of things, you know, public health officials on the ground are dealing with. And so please welcome Sarah Branco to the podium.
So, good morning. So first of all, I'd like to say that yes, on your table there is a bottle of soap. It is not hand sanitizer. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to not use hand sanitizer if you have access to soap and water. So the person at your table who has the birthday in March or April or May is the proud owner of a new bottle of soap provided to us by Dollar General. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is when we talk about the coronavirus, I'm glad Matt brought Kaylee to the forefront of this, because when I start thinking about the coronavirus, I don't think about it as the public health director. I think about it as a mom. And I have a 3.5-year-old. And my Daniel is my world. And so everything that I do in this response, I think about how is it going to impact where he will be. His daycare, his school, Price Chopper, Dollar General, Dunkin' Donuts. That is how I am responding to this. How is it going to impact my son? And when I look across the nation and I look at the number of cases that we are currently at, we are at 1,500 diagnosed cases, 36 deaths. I know that my son, I know that Kaylee, Mason, they are not in the age category where the coronavirus will have a huge impact on them. Unfortunately, this illness is fatal to those over the age of 57, which is a shock for a lot of people in this room, I know. But it's because those over the age of 57 typically tend to have underlying health conditions. The folks that are dying from this virus are folks who have suffered from pneumonia, cancer, COPD, other lung illnesses, and suppressed immune systems. So this is one area that I can say I actually feel safe that my child is okay at this point. That does not mean we are not working with the schools. I had the privilege of sitting with the 17 superintendents from our HFM region yesterday to talk about a regional plan in response to the virus. We had the public health directors from Hamilton and Fulton County there as well, discussing how as a region we are going to handle if we have to shut down a school. And when we're talking about shutting down a school, guys, we're not talking about weeks. We're talking 24 to 48 hours for deep cleaning so that we can get back to business as usual. And while I don't want us to panic, I want us to be very aware of this illness and how fast it is spreading. It is spreading faster than the flu. We know that. It is only, again, fatal at this point for those over the age of 57. So we are asking that if you have someone in your life that has a compromised immune system or is in that age category, check on them frequently. Make sure that they have their medications that they take every day for their health conditions. Wash your hands. The other thing with Matt and Kaylee's toothbrush, every 30 days we should be getting a new toothbrush at this point. If you're sick, stay home. When you sneeze, when you cough, cover your mouth and then wash your hands with soap and water, right? Somebody called me and they said, oh, I'm making this great homemade hand sanitizer. I got this and that. And I said, how much did that cost? Oh, it was like $21. I said, you could have gotten 42 bars of soap and water, right? So we are asking to use soap and water. We also want you to know that in Montgomery County, you can't believe Dr. Facebook, because we do have test kits for the coronavirus. It is the same protocol as we test folks for the flu. We do not have the kits at our local health department. They are at our local hospitals and primary care locations. So if you think you meet the criteria for having COVID-19, we ask that you call us first, and we will assist you in the process of getting the proper testing. Because the last thing we want is our hospitals and our primary care doctors' offices to be inundated with folks who think they may be carriers of the virus. We will assist you. Jeff Smith as our emergency management director back in 2014, along with the sheriff at the time and some other officials, worked very well on Ebola, Zika, H1N1, SARS. Guys, we do this every day. My staff is very prepared with the team that we have in place to handle an outbreak. We had one over the summer last year. Some of you saw it in the newspaper. The Coxsackie virus, the pertussis outbreak. My staff and I were able to contact an entire school district in 13 hours. We are professionals at this. This is what we do. I was joking earlier and I was saying, I just need people to stay in their lane and for the first time really let us do our job. And when the sheriff says to me, I will do whatever the public health director tells me to do, I'm like, thanks, Jeff, that's great. But I want us to just keep calm, keep calm, wash our hands, and know that we are prepared. And I will leave you with this. We do currently have one individual in our county that we are monitoring, and everything is okay. It's okay. Every day we do our job, we talk to folks, and we are moving forward. The last thing I will leave you with before you see it on Facebook is Snow White is down to 6 dwarfs at this point. Unfortunately, last night we did have to quarantine Sneezy because he came symptomatic. So, wash your hands. Thank you.
Coronavirus is unique to the common flu.
Correct. It has the
There are
same
unique
symptoms.
indicators. So
Yes.
can you tell everybody, rather than rushing to the hospital, the doctor's office, or whatever,
Sure.
what is the unique factors or indicators of coronavirus that would be different than normal?
Sure. So one of the things that we're looking for is if you have the flu-like symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, and you call our office, we are going to ask a very specific set of questions. Have you traveled from Italy, Iran, Japan, South Korea, or China? Those are the first questions that we are going to ask you. If you say no, then we ask you, have you come in contact with somebody that has traveled from some of those countries? If they say no, then we will say, do you have reason to believe you have come in contact with somebody who is tested positive? People are getting tested. It does not mean they are testing positive. So those are the criteria we are going by. We are taking our guidance every day from the CDC. Dr. Anthony Fauci is the lead of the National Health Institute, and we have been on conference calls with him, and we've been invited to a number of private meetings with him via WebEx and through our state health department, and we really are getting our information from the best in the business. So those are the criteria we are currently looking at. And again, we have flu. We know we have the flu in our county. The folks that we have tested for COVID-19, all of them have come back as having tested positive for the flu. So when you read on Facebook or social media that we are not testing people, I can guarantee you we are. They're just not coming back positive, and that is good news. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to it. What's new in 2020? Here we're getting back to some of the speech that I wrote 2 months ago. So Ken and his team at the Business Development Center helped me put together a new business advisory committee. And the first meeting really jumped out with some new ideas and some new goals for this year that I wanted to make a note of. First and foremost, something we've been working on for a couple years is CDTA. Public transportation is something that we're lacking in the county. Obviously, it's a barrier to workforce development. It's a barrier to people getting, medication. It's a barrier to getting to the grocery store. It's obviously a big issue. We're continuing to keep the pressure on to try to get the state to move some money in the DOT budget to make that a reality. We should know by the end of this month whether or not it happens this year or not. And if it doesn't, we're going to keep the pressure on and try next year. But it's really become a tremendous issue. Transportation is one of our biggest challenges. Also, another issue related to workforce development, because the workforce is all we're hearing from the businesses right now. We've identified a new goal, and that goal is a 24-hour daycare facility in the 5S corridor. All of the businesses in that corridor have expressed that this is a major barrier for a lot of the workers, especially on the second and third shifts. We have a piece of property that I think with enough nudging to Ken and the IDA board right across from Hill and Marks that we think would be perfect. We're talking with some potential operators, we're talking with the businesses. The family up at Hill and Marks is very, very interested in pushing this hard. So through a partnership, we think we can potentially get this done. In addition, the state has a lot of money out there to help get these things off the ground. So that is another new goal, new project for the coming year. In addition to that, you'll see Jackie Marciniak is here. I see her in the back. Jackie is part of that business roundtable, works at MVP Healthcare. We're going to try to really work to get a workforce development program up off the ground that includes the wraparound services. So with workforce, you have some different barriers. For more of the skilled workers, it's housing, it's transportation, but for some of the more unskilled positions, it's health, it's childcare, but it's also, you know, those wraparound services of people that have never been taught, you know, what happens if the car breaks down, what happens, you know, in different situations, how do they handle that with my employer, that need those basic skills, those wraparound services to help get them from, quite frankly, you know, potentially on services to in the workforce. And we're at that point right now. Unemployment is, you know, at pretty much an all-time low, and we have more jobs than people. And we need to do a better job recruiting people to the area, but also with the people that are here that are not working, what can we do to try to provide those services to get them back on their feet, employed, off of services, because then that's a win-win. You have to win at the county as far as the taxpayers go, but you also have somebody now who's hopefully breaking that cycle of poverty within their own family, which is an issue we see. Another issue I'm going to talk about a little bit later is the Burbine Forest. How many people in this room knew that the county was a proud owner of its own forest? All right, a few. Well, I have some interesting ideas of some things we're going to try to do this year. We're going to talk about that. Also, the county facilities relocation. You know, basically every building we had when we started in 2014 needed some sort of work, and we had some sort of challenge. We've replaced boilers, we've replaced roofs, and we've created a plan to move things forward. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Another initiative that I'm particularly proud of because it's been organic. It actually started out of a meeting with the Office for the Aging, which reminds me, you know, a lot of people say with this coronavirus that, and I know you're like, okay, enough with the coronavirus, but when you look at our community, and Dave will attest to this, you know, we have one of the oldest communities in the entire state. So we are particularly vulnerable. So it's another reason to not try to minimize the potential. We don't know how this year is going to go, and given the fact of who we are, is a reason to take note. But long time ago, maybe a few years, they had this idea to do a volunteer rideshare program based on what some other counties did, and we actually helped them implement that with some funding from the county. It's worked out. They got the software running. They have volunteers come in. It's been a tremendous success. Well, we then started looking at, well, how could we do the same thing, a rideshare program, almost an Uber type program with volunteers and maybe potentially part-time staff for veterans, because we found that there's a lot of veterans that are slipping through the cracks. We provide the service to the VA in Albany, but you leave early in the morning and you come back later in the day, and that doesn't always work for everybody. So we had Brenda Rava, our Veterans and Youth Director, look at it, put together all the information, and actually, because we're part of the state's climate smart communities, we made that pledge, and we've taken steps to be efficient and do different upgrades at the county. We're going to be receiving a few new electric vehicles. So what a better way to bring some different things together than to use these vehicles to try to help veterans get, whether it's health benefits, groceries, get to other doctor's appointments. That's going to be a new initiative for this year, which I'm pretty proud of. And I'm not going to talk about it a great deal, but it's certainly something that's on our radar is the 2020 census. We have our planning committee up and running. We're going to make sure that money gets from the additional money that the state has allocated to help reach particularly hard to reach people, and we're going to continue to do that this year. But moving on to the budget. and I'm going to say this, sometimes I take him for granted, our county treasurer, Sean Bowerman, because he's relatively quiet, he keeps his head down, he does what he does, but he's as reliable as anything, and you can always count on what he says. And you know, in our discussions, you know, about this year, I think the best way we can describe it this year is we're bracing for impact. You'll see in a couple of the subsequent slides that the county financial situation has got a little better each year, and that's largely due to the consistent and big increases in sales tax that we've seen. But given what's going on in the world right now, you know, there's a very real chance we're headed for some sort of recession that could last potentially into the fall to the winter. How is that going to affect Montgomery County remains unclear, but we do have to acknowledge that 2020 is going to be one of those years. Nobody ever thought they'd wake up this morning and you wouldn't have people that, I know some county employees that have tickets to the March Madness games in Albany. Nobody thought a month ago that that would happen. And there might be some things happen this year that nobody thought would happen. So we need to be prepared for that. So you add that also into the fact that in the global oil market, you're seeing a rush of supply flooding the market, you're seeing demand go down, and you're seeing prices plummet. So as a county that has multiple rest stops on the thruway, and your sales tax is a big piece of that is the sales tax related to fuel, you know, it's great for consumers. It's great if you want to take a road trip, but for us at the county, it's concerning. So you add in the fact that you could see gas prices under $2 this year, potentially, which again, probably something we wouldn't have thought 6 months ago. In addition to, you know, some of the economic impacts of the virus and what's going on, you know, there's some concern there. And just to make it even more fun, Morgan, let me read you some of these headlines. Cuomo threatens to make New York counties pay more for Medicaid if they don't cut costs. Cuomo must solve his Medicaid mess, not dump it on local government taxpayers. Stop digging. New York must get out of the deep Medicaid cost hole. Cuomo's Medicaid plan causes fear of service cuts and hike in health insurance taxes. Editorial from the Daily Gazette, Medicaid shift is no solution. What you're seeing at the state level right now, for those that don't know, Medicaid costs have been capped for a number of years. That has provided us some stability in our DSS budget where we knew that we wouldn't be largely held accountable for decisions at the state level in which we're seeing costs rise much higher than our revenue is, and that's been a good thing. Now all of a sudden the state has a $6 billion hole, most of it from the New York City Medicaid program, but all of counties have been lumped into this, and basically this is what they're saying as of now. If you stay under your tax cap, which is fine, we've been doing that, if you control costs in Medicaid at 3%, which, let me remind folks, policy is done at the state, the counties are largely an extension of state government, and we are responsible for implementing these programs, yet we are not responsible for choosing the eligibility and things of that nature. He's saying, and they're saying, if you stay under the tax cap and you control costs at 3%, then you'll be able to keep your Medicaid cap. But if you don't do either of those things, you're going to be responsible for all those cost increases. So, which could be millions. So, if this goes through, the thing I'm concerned about is how the heck are we supposed to control these costs? And when largely these are not fully funded programs, and we don't have a whole lot of say in who's eligible and who's not. So you have like this storm brewing, you know, between oil prices, the potential recession, and now the state looking to balance its budget on the backs of counties. So there's some concern there. And again, going back to my point earlier, and Morgan, we could go to the next slide, you know, life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, but sometimes it's pretty good. You know, you'll see here in this slide, fund balance appropriated versus actual. When I first started, that was one of the challenges. We were using fund balance, and we still are, to plug the budget gap between where we can raise taxes with the tax cap. So you'll see in this, how much we budgeted versus how much we used has gone down. The first couple of years, there were some one-shots in there. We had the MOSA money, we had health insurance trust money that came in. So, but you'll see there, but, it was starting to trend in the right direction. But now we wake up and things are different now. If you move to the next slide, same thing with sales tax. I mean, the green represents what we budgeted, and the white cream color represents what the actual was. So you'll see here, what we budgeted versus what the actual is, we're doing pretty good. But here's the problem. We now, for 2020 and beyond, can't necessarily say, hey, look to that sales tax as a means to fill the budget gap. So as we head into this year and we start preparation for the following year's budget, this is going to dominate our thinking. And then I just like to put this out there because sometimes, when local municipalities may be forced into some tough decisions, it's sometimes convenient to, take a swipe at the county. I just put this together for perspective. Those sales tax, say we get $1 million sales tax increase over what we budgeted. We only keep 60% of that. So that is only a $600,000 boost to the county budget, not a $1 million increase. And why? Because we have, in my opinion, a pretty generous sales tax sharing agreement with the towns in the city and the county. Some counties don't share any of their sales tax with their local municipalities. So if you look at the total issued sales tax to the towns and the city in Montgomery County since 2010, in 10 years, it's about $120 million. So it gives you a sense of the overall difficulty that the county is in. As legislator Pep likes to say, we only have two spigots that we can turn, right, Mike? Right. You have your sales tax, and quite frankly, we're not going to be asking the state for an increase in the percentage of sales tax. And you have your tax cap, which you are mandated to stay under, whatever that is. Usually it's 2% in that ballpark, depending on some varying factors. So you have, your revenue options are limited. The state is putting more and more on you as far as what you have to do and how you're going to pay for it. And the one big one we do have, that we've seen some growth, 40% of it is out of our hands before we even get to it. So that is the unique challenge that we face moving forward. So to brighten up the mood a little bit, I like to do this, I think I do this pretty much every year, but I take this from the Business Development Center's annual report, and I think these are the reasons, and when we first started and we added some personnel to this office, I received some criticism, but I think I bring this up because the return on the investment with our Business Development Center is absolutely tremendous. And if you look at this, local economic highlights, just in 2019 alone, there was approximately 400 new private sector jobs created in Montgomery County with the assistance of the Business Development Center. Companies that work with our Business Development Center employ just over 2,700 individuals with a combined annual payroll in excess of $60 million. These companies generated $5.1 million in property taxes and pilot payments and have accounted for about $500 million in capital investment. These are serious numbers, and the reason you're seeing growth, positive, smart economic growth in Montgomery County is largely due to that team over, I keep looking in the back because Ken's in the back, but Ken and his team working to maximize our strengths, which we all know what they are at this point because we've been beating it like a drum. It's our accessibility, it's our affordability, it's the recreational opportunities, it's the quality life, it's the small communities where people know each other, which quite frankly, when I see the madness that's going on in New Rochelle, in New York City, in Seattle, these are the times I'm thankful I live in a small community. because it's a very different life than, you know, than what you're seeing in other places. But you're seeing, you know, 400 jobs last year, but that's not stopping. There's as I said earlier in my meeting with Ken yesterday, we got a lot of really hot irons in the fire. And you just saw that we just welcomed another major international brand to the region with Amazon in the 5S corridor, which is fantastic because of the economic stuff, but I'll also be able to get my golf supplies in a day. I won't have to wait 2 days for that stuff. But also you're seeing the Win Stanley project. And for those that are not familiar with that, that is the Win Stanley's a top 50 in the country site selector firm. They come in, they get control of the property, they work with the town on the zoning, they get everything ready for the business. Well, they've gotten all that done, and now they're talking with potential tenants. And I got to tell you, the outlook is as promising as it could get. Obviously, Mr. Thayer, nothing's done until it's done, but I like where we are with that property. And I also like where we are with communicating with those businesses in the corridor and trying to meet their needs with things like the 24-hour daycare and workforce development type issues. And also, the same thing goes with Exit 29. I'm not going to do a big, long talk on Exit 29 today, but the bottom line is the east side has been cleared, and we are marketing, and we are talking with potential tenants, and I would say that iron is hot as well. And on the western side, we're in the midst of a cleanup. And by the end of the summer, maybe early fall, Ken, is that accurate? We'll have that site. We're working on a $3 million contract right now to have that site cleaned up. And then we can start getting into, you know, the demolition. We're still working with State Historic Preservation on what we're going to save, what we're not going to save, and how that is going to work. And that's going to be more of a longer term type thing. But we're confident in what we're seeing as far as the leads on the eastern side, and we're hopeful that that can really help move things forward in the village of Canajoharie. I have a slide up here. For those that have followed this, that's a new microtel up on in that corridor. Again, there was another need that was expressed, and the community responded. A whole bunch of folks worked together to get that done. I was just talking with Senator Amador's chief of staff last night, and we were actually remarking about how much it took from so many people to get that hotel done. But I feel very strongly that, you know, in the midst of economic uncertainty in the year we're facing, we're doing everything we can locally to try to drive the economy and try to drive positive action and sustainability long term, and that's what we're going to do. Moving forward to tourism, this is something that's gotten toned down since the speech changed a little bit, but we're going to continue to invest in Norm Bowen and his team in Mohawk Country. They've been doing great things. I was planning on going into it a little bit more today, but I'm going to leave it at that. For those that don't know, you know, they promote Revolutionary War tourism, and one of our challenges has been a lot of the small sites don't necessarily have the time and people to do it on their own. And Norm has done a great job of bringing everybody in under one umbrella and helping coordinate things like bus tours and providing some professionalism to historic tourism in the Mohawk Valley. And he's done a great job, and I've just been so impressed. You can go to the next slide. You know, as a lot of people know, we finished the paving the trail from one end to the other, which was a huge accomplishment. I think we put about $1 million worth of blacktop down, and I've driven Eric Mead absolutely nuts in the process. But, you know, this year we're going to be putting up some new signage and markings and things of that nature, and continue, you know, making sure that is well maintained and is an asset to the community. Next slide. New project. And one Ryan Weitz is excited about, and I'm very excited about, is preserving the aqueduct. We won a state grant this year to stabilize. That state grant is looking to be partnered with a federal grant, which I don't think we've heard yet.
Not yet.
But if that one comes through, and I'm confident it will, we'll have the $1.1 million-ish that we need to stabilize this. And then the grand vision is, and we'll see if it ever gets there, but it's nice to have big dreams. I'd love to see the bike path run right across the thing with a nice clear plate glass underneath so you can look down and really have it be an asset to the community. Historically, it's a tremendous asset. You wouldn't believe the people that come to see this, and I think if we showcase it and really shine what is a tremendous asset and incorporate it with recreation, that's what we're going to do. But again, this wasn't something that I dreamed up in the office. This was a group of community partners that came together and said, hey, are you interested in supporting this effort? If the county's name was on the application, it makes it a heck of a stronger application. You know, trust me, Ken's office doesn't need more grants to administer. They got plenty, but we said, absolutely, it's a great idea, and we're proud of this partnership. Next slide. All right, here we go. Here's my fun project of the year. So this is the Burbine Forest. It's really a fantastic place. There's a new hiking trail that's about a mile loop that you can go to. There's water features. It's just like just peace and quiet. Our Soil and Water District has been doing a lot with the Burbine Forest. But interestingly enough, the folks at Soil and Water got a call from some disc golfers inquiring as to why we don't have, or just basically saying there are no courses in this area. This is an up-and-coming growing sport, and we'd like to talk to you about it. And I just fell in love with the idea, to be honest with you. I know in the grand scheme of things, of everything we're talking about, disc golf is not going to dramatically change Montgomery County, but I don't think there's any reason why we can't try new cool projects and do things a little differently. So we went and met with this guy who now I know after he opened up his trunk and had the special backpack that holds all of his discs and all of these, telling me about all this stuff, I was like, okay, I know how obnoxious I am when I start talking to people about my golfing. But what I learned from this gentleman is that this is something that's really up and coming. Like all the tournaments they have sell out within like a day. So we actually said, we're willing to put a disc golf course in the Burbine Forest. You just need to design it for us, and we want this to be one of the best in the region. So we're going to work on that this year with hopefully getting it open in the summer, and then having a little event. But think about it. If disc golf in the Burbine Forest ain't a Montgomery County thing, I don't know what is. It's something you can do with your family. It's something you can do outdoors. And it just is a fun thing. It doesn't cost anything. I always talk about, when I was younger, it was just me, my mother, and my sister, and we weren't the type of family that got to go on vacations every year, but we did cool things like go to the bike path. And it didn't cost any money. You packed a lunch, you went. I didn't know the difference. I mean, I didn't know that, there's other people that went to Florida every year. I was just having a blast. And I think these are the type of opportunities that we can provide for people in this area that don't cost them anything. You can get them outside, get them some exercises, and they can have some fun in the process. So looking forward to doing that this year. And then also in talking about the Burbine Forest, we decided that we're going to really do 3 events up there this year. We're going to do disc golf, but we also going to do, there's a fantastic watering hole that is stocked every year, and you wouldn't believe how far people travel to go to this. So we're going to do a fishing derby and a snowshoe event. So 3 new recreational events to bring some attention to the Burbine Forest. Charleston is a wonderful area, and we'd like to, talk it up a little bit and get people out there. So, next slide. Get ahead of myself here. Don't worry, I'm almost done. And we are going to save some time for questions. So facilities improvements. This is just, obviously we got our new emergency management garage. The other one was in the flood zone. You had to back everything in. This one, stuff can come in, stuff can go out. It's just, this is what our first responders deserve as far as having our equipment safe and accessible and out of the flood zone. And we paid for this with a state grant. The next step, which, given our outlook financially over the year, is going to be a vigorous discussion. I think Eric gets that, I get that, Legislator Pep gets that, Legislator Thayer gets that. Next slide, please. This is our new DPW facility. The facility that we have, again, sensing themes here, in a flood zone. We have one employee that's been in the old building, and she's been in it long enough to see it flood 4 times. Can you imagine if that happened at your office? Not to mention, the building's practically falling down, it's old, the whole nine, it's cost a ton of money. But we're gonna have a vigorous debate when we get the bids back on how to get this done. We got a $2 million state grant, which, trust me, they don't give out much money for municipal buildings. But the way we were able to get the money was because we were taking critical infrastructure out of a flood zone and relocating it up on the hill. So we got $2 million. We're looking at a potential $10 million project. Now we're talking, okay, $8 million cost to the county. Hopefully, we gotta get the bids back, we'll see what the actuals are, and we'll take it from there. But I really believe that we need to get this done. Because if we don't, just like the old BBL project of old, it's just gonna get more expensive to do, and we're still gonna be stuck with the same problems we've had. So hopefully we can get this done, we can find a way to do it. You know, I was in the town of Root last night for our county comes to town that I've been doing with the county clerk. And one of the things that I said was, we have a very thoughtful board. And we have the ability to go and really debate these topics and try to come up with the best solutions. And that's what it's all about. I don't run the show, they don't run the show, we do things together. And this is going to be one of those that we're going to have to look at some creative ways to finance this and get it done. But I don't think we should let the uncertainty of this year push this off any further. It's probably 20 years overdue, and we need to get it done. And next up. All right, so this is my big finish. So every year, I've seen a change at the county since I've been there. Some of it's my doing, some of it's not. And I just thought this would be a good way to finish the speech today on a positive note. There have been, in the last 6-7 years, a lot of really strong, dedicated women that have stepped up into leadership positions at the county. And we often joke at the office that I was raised by a very strong, go-getting woman, and it's no surprise that I've kind of surrounded myself with that type of people. But some of these folks are elected, some of them have been appointed. But in 2013, 8 out of the 24 department head level positions in Montgomery County were women. That was 33%. Here we are in 2020, and now women hold 13 out of those 24 positions. That's over 54% of our leadership positions at the county are women. And I just wanted to take time to thank them for what they do. They've brought a lot to the table, and it's been a pleasure to work with all of you. And I think, quite frankly, that's something to be proud of. To go from, 1/3 to over a half, I think says a lot about the people in this community and the way, quite frankly, women have stepped up to the plate to take on big roles at the county, and they're doing a great job. So that's really that. I've covered a lot of topics. We're going to open it up to some questions if anybody has any. If not, we'll conclude, but I'll leave you with this. 2020 could be a tough year, but these are the times that we're going to figure out what we're made of, and these are the times that you got to stay strong. And Montgomery County's been through a lot. I mean, going back, Norm, to the Revolutionary War, I'm sure you can tell us a few stories of what people have been through in this valley. But throughout the years, it's happened. Whether it's the flooding, the raids, I mean, we've been through it all. This will pass, but we just got to get through it. Everybody's got to dig in. Everybody's got to be a little bit more empathetic of each other. And that's how we get through it, just like we always have. So I'm not overly concerned, but I think you have to acknowledge the challenges you face ahead of you. So with that said, we will turn it over to Mark and open up to some questions.
You're going to take the questions, so.
Okay. Does anybody, if not, that's fine. I would be happy if you're speaking up. But yes.
Where is the Burbine Forest located?
In the town of Charleston, near the Four Corners. Actually, right up the road from our offices. Any other questions? All right. Well, with that said, thank you everybody for attending, and have a great day.
heard Matt say he wanted to end this on a positive note. I did not hear a negative note throughout your entire presentation. I mean, you've got to be the most enthusiastic person I've ever met, and I think that enthusiasm is shown in what has happened in the past 8 years here in Montgomery County. I mean, it's just incredible, and I think it's infectious, that's obvious. One time did Matt mention the tagline here for the county, made of something stronger, and it's obvious that it is made of something stronger. I want everybody here to think about one thing, and I'm assuming everybody in the audience has lived in this county for 10 or 20 or maybe their whole lives, 10 or 20 years, their whole lives. Picture yourself driving on a 5S 10 years ago. And then picture it today. Have you seen the change of the landscape there? It's been incredible. And I think you've sparked a lot of that growth, and you've, like I said, you've led it, and your team here in the entire county has really followed that lead and has made it all happen. Congratulations. I mean, we got names like Amazon, Dollar General, Microtel, Hill and Marks. I mean, these are sites you didn't see there, and it's continuing to grow, and it's going to see you're going to see further growth in the near future too. And I have no doubt that Montgomery County is going to become the disc golf capital of the world. I'm sure it will. So I want to just take a moment to thank our event sponsors here today, CT Mail, for any of your building, environmental needs, needs for any type of construction or whatnot, engineering. Please see Chad and Chris, who are here today, or if you can't remember their information, give us a call at the office. We'll also connect you with them. Another important sponsor, like I said, is heartfelt to me personally, is Cancer Prevention in Action. It costs nothing to meet with these folks. It costs nothing to create a policy that will help your employees and possibly save their lives. I did it for my employees, and it's a very valuable thing. So contact Cancer Prevention in Action. Call us at the chamber, and we will definitely connect you with them. I also want to thank Boucher & Clark, our routine table sponsor to this event. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Tim Sauls isn't here, but Laura Ward is here. Thank you for coming, Laura. And I want to thank John and all staff here at the Winter Circle. So thank you, everybody else, for coming. And we did talk a little bit about the coronavirus. And I do go to Albany a lot. And a unique thing you'll see in Albany is that you get a room full of politicians, there's no handshaking. That's meant to be a little bit of a joke, but it really isn't. But it really isn't, because everybody's taking caution to watch what's going on today. It's very important that we take every step that we can to not make this more of a crisis than it seems to be. And you put my heart at ease, I got to say that, when you talked about what you're doing here in the county. I mean, you've just really done a lot to convince me that, you know, you don't have to get desperate over the situation, just have common sense dictate what you do. But in following that rule, we do have an event sponsored at River Ridge for next month. It's usually a larger business after hours. It's on April 29th. But I would caution you to all keep track of what's going on the Chamber Connections, because that's in, as you know, a home that we might have to make some changes, might have to cancel it. We'll work with them and we'll work with you to see what we should do about that event. So it's, as of right now it's on, but there's a good chance it may not be moving forward. So thank you so much for coming. Have a great weekend. And thank you, Matt, for all you've done for the county. Thank you so much.